Let's talk about WCW as a whole, because at home, I have to admit, I guess I'm 19 at the time, not quite 20, but WCW had been a part of my life, my entire wrestling fandom. I became a wrestling fan in 1988. So as long as I had been a wrestling fan, WCW was here. They were a part of it. I couldn't imagine a world without WCW. You're even more deeper ingrained in all this. You're getting a check every 2 weeks from WCW. Did you ever think WCW was actually ever going to A, close, or B, be sold? It just
Never,
felt like it'd been a part of Turner forever.
never. And knowing that, coming from the territory days and how USWA was literally the last territory, and it was driven because we hung on here because we were getting paid from the Memphis TV station. So just the simple business economics that, yes, quote unquote, it had turned into a TV company. And I'm like, that's the leg up. It's going to be around forever because the ratings are good. And it is, relatively speaking, dirt cheap to produce. It does, it's not baseball, it's not basketball, it's not some big Hollywood production. It's quote unquote a wrestling show. And us going to Orlando, ironically, at Universal Studios to shoot, 6 weeks at a time TV tapings. That's why I thought the business model needed to change. And look, we can talk about creative forever, but it ain't going nowhere. Like there's zero chance to this day. It's a few head scratchers on it, but I just didn't think it was I just didn't think there was. I thought there was zero chance of it being going away.
I don't want to jump into a ton of WCW creative, but do you remember there being a moment where something creatively happened and you thought, that might have killed the town. That might be the one that when we look back in WCW as fans, we can point to, oh, the Arquette thing, oh, the finger poke of doom, oh, they made Russo champion. We could rattle on all these different examples. But when we look at, hey, let's point a finger to when WCW leveled up. It's that Hogan Flair thing at Bash at the Beach in 94. It's Hogan turning heel in 96. There are these like major moments where it's like after this, everything was different. It's Nitro starting. Those are probably the three big building blocks where you're like, oh man, we're on a trajectory. But you could also probably point to, fans do all the time, well, it started with the finger poke of doom and then blah, blah, blah. Was there a moment as a wrestler on the inside getting paid by this company where you thought, that might be the beginning of the end?
I can tell you the vibe. I don't know if I can point myself to any one finger, but Bronco Lubitsch was the referee out in Dallas, WCCW, yep. And I would make car rides with him and ask him different things. And he was very appreciative of my old man coming out there. And I asked him one time, Bronco, what happened here? And he did not even skip a beat. He said, Jeff, it's real simple. When the boys quit showing up or only showed up when they wanted to and started missing towns, when the non-TV events became less and less important and not every Friday night where they dialed in, the air was let out of the room and they never could put the toothpaste back in the tube. Fast forward to WCW, when I would show up on a live event and it would be, and I don't want to name names, but you didn't have any Millionaire Club there.
Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan. Yeah.
Get I don't call it a program, but a sheet that this is the newspaper ad, or this is what was advertised, and like 6 people out of the 10 that were advertised are not there. I said, this ain't good. I mean, it ain't good. It just put a bad tone in front of the people behind the screen. So the big wave the white flag, we don't care. The people felt it. I still think that the communication between the brand and the fan was not ever one event. It was, they don't care, so why should we not care? Why should we care? I think it's that simple, although it's not that simple. But when the talent quit caring, the fan quit caring.
Let me give you an example here. I just randomly pulled the show up here. This is from Minnesota, August 18th, 2000. There's 2,755 fans in the arena. Only 822 of them paid. The card is Yang and Hayashi against Helms and Moore. Crowbar defeated David Flair. The Great Muta and Vampiro defeated the Demon in a handicap match. Norman Smiley beat Big Vito.
Wait. Say that match right there.
Norman Smiley and Big Vito.
Oh.
Muta and Vampiro against the Demon in a handicap match.
Okay. Just let that sink in, but keep moving.
Rey Mysterio and Juventud against Chronic and Jindrak and O'Hare. And then Douglas beat Lex Luger. Lance Storm beat Mike Awesome. And your main event in a lumberjack match, Stevie Ray versus Jeff Jarrett. And again, I think me and you are on the same page here. We're not disparaging anyone, but your main event is Jeff Jarrett and Stevie Ray in a lumberjack match.
Stevie's a tag team wrestler.
And there's 822 paid.
And Lex Luger, because he came in and had to crawl and scratch and came off the Lex Express, he didn't have dates. He probably had 150 dates or 200 dates. They didn't have to worry about dates. So Lex made everything. I can remember making trips with Lex. I bet you me and Lex rode together that night. But that says that's a very good example of WCW. There, you know, and I do you remember me and Stevie Ray ever working a program?
Nope. To your point, back in the day, the fundamental reason the business grew is you use TV as an infomercial to get you to buy tickets.
There you go.
So we're going to have a hot angle on TV and we're going to tease it, but we're not going to give it to you. Instead, you're not going to see Flair versus Ronnie Garvin with that knockout punch. You're going to see Flair versus George South, but at the end, Ronnie's going to knock him out, but they're wrestling tonight at the Charlotte Coliseum. So that's what the whole concept of a house show match was. We're going to get you excited on TV, but if you want to see the payoff, well, that's $20. We'll see you at the gate. That didn't happen here. You're not working a program with Stevie Ray. So the TV, whatever you're doing on TV, has nothing to do with what we're seeing here. This is simply, okay, who's showing up and who likes each other and who can put a match together. But it almost exists in a vacuum. It doesn't support your television product.
Did I hear you right? It's a stipulation match?
Lumberjack match.
I mean, which further dilutes the product. And again, right hand, left hand, right foot, left foot. That's somebody booking a live event that's not writing TV.
Right.
Period.
Because as we know, a lumberjack match is when you're in a heated feud and these guys keep trying to, powder out and get a count out or a DQ, and we're not going to let that happen anymore. So today it's a lumberjack match, but instead it's a lumberjack match randomly with you. And
we move on. I just reliving it. I have a funk coming over me, but no, go ahead.
Here's the thing. It's important to note, you guys had a San Francisco 49ers match, and we'll talk about it another time, but this is at the Cow Palace, a legacy wrestling town, a legacy wrestling building. Pat Patterson sold it out untold times. New Japan did a pay-per-view there a few years ago. I mean, WCW ran a ton of pay-per-views. It's a big time wrestling town. And we've got, for this Nitro, 1,941 fans at the Cow Palace. Just 8 months prior to that, at Super Brawl, you had 8,500 paid fans. In 8 months, we went from 8,500 to 1,900, 2,000, man. I mean, I think Tony Schiavone described WCW as a coffin on roller skates.
Wow. Okay. That number, 8,500 something. So from 8,500, and I'd love to know, because in the promotion mindset, that yes, we're going to take in collectively between San Francisco Super Brawl, is that what you said it was?
Yeah.
And this Nitro, we're going to take in 7 or 8 months worth of content.
Yeah.
Let's think about the paying customers. What did they see at Super Brawl? Because what you left them with, those 8,500 fans that night, they didn't like. That's not. No, they didn't like what was put on in Super Brawl in droves. Now, look, yes, there's obviously mitigating factors and what's on TV and what's driving them and this and that. And we're going to talk about the silliness of the San Francisco box match. And I don't want to leave out the most important player in that match, Beetlejuice, but that's another discussion. But whatever was delivered in February or March, they didn't come back.